$411,143 with an 8x ROAS in a matter of 10 months. Now, these kinds of results are not very common results, especially with Google Ads, because 90% of the individuals that actually use Google Ads to advertise their e-commerce brand don't really know what kind of right strategies to use, how a Shopify store that runs solely on Google Ads should be laid out, and how to even scale once you start to see some kinds of results with Google Ads in the first place. And these kinds of things are some of the most important things which I'm gonna be covering in this video that you should know about, especially if you wanna continue scaling with Google Ads. Now, before we get into any of the other things, as you see on my screen, we're looking at that specific Shopify store, which is actually one of my clients' e-commerce brands under my agency Yoru Marketing. But this month so far, this store alone has done a 6.25 ROAS, spent roughly 3,000 Canadian dollars because the owner lives in Canada. However, this store does run in the US for a total whopping $18,700 in sales. If we change this now to all time, we can see exactly what I'm talking about. So as you can see, so far until today when I'm recording this video, which is May 14th, the store is at roughly $411,637.10 at an 8.71 ROAS. So in total, the store only spent $47,300. So absolutely insane results. A lot of other campaigns running on this store, which we'll be covering very shortly, but those are what the results look like. And what I want you to actually see is the overall trend of how the results kind of played out from the beginning. So to give a little bit of an overview, this Shopify store was started in June of 2021. Ads started running in July after, of course, getting the merchant center approved, all of that good stuff. But once that started, as you can see, the results weren't really there. The first month we did barely a 3.50 ROAS, and as you will soon learn, this is actually the wrong number. The store was fully in a loss the first 1 to 2 months, might even be the first half of the third month. The store was not really profitable at all. And there was one specific problem which I see about 99% of Shopify stores have, that was going on in the beginning with the Shopify store. But since June of 2021 until May of 2022, the results have been very steady, has consistently grown. Of course, there's a little bit of ups and downs overall. When the ROAS goes down, the ad spend actually ends up going down a bit as well to preserve the overall ROAS. But we're about halfway through May, and so far it looks like this month we're gonna do about the same as we did last month, might even be a little bit higher. But that's basically what kind of results you are eligible to get once you run the right kind of strategies, once you know exactly what to do in terms of the campaign types, and once you figure out exactly what your ad account is responding to the best. Because trust me, if you try to copy the same exact strategy this Shopify store is using on your own ad account, it might actually end up flopping completely. And that is because every Google Ads account is different. Everybody sells different kinds of products. The audience is different, etc. Even the two kinds of stores in the same niche selling very, very similar or even same products might have completely different results with the same strategy. So you always want to kind of take bits and pieces with what I'm teaching you and kind of make your own strategy up, just like I do for my clients under my agency Yoru Marketing, which if you're doing $30,000 or more in sales, you want to take your brand to the next level, go onto my website at yorumarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how I can help you do that. But let's now kind of rewind just a little bit back to when this store was started. So the month of June and July, like I told you, the month of June, we didn't really have any sales in general, simply because ads weren't running at that time. The real sales started to come in July. And if you go on over to the segment button right here, if you click on it, if you go to conversions, you can do this on your ad account, by the way, as well, but you will see exactly which conversion tracking codes were firing. And as you see right here, overall, the conversion tracking codes that were firing were all over the place. Simprosys, which is a Shopify feed app I recommend to submit your products to the Google Merchant Center, was completely set up inaccurately by the Shopify store owner. And because of that, the main goals that campaigns were actually firing for, including the conversion action payment, product, shipping, shopping cart, sign up, and even the actual purchase conversion, which was set up at a later portion. But as you can see, this last number is the real accurate number. This number right here is completely fake, and this campaign actually got only 12 sales with this amount of conversion value. Now again, this conversion value is not fully accurate because there were values that were getting shown here which later on were deleted, hence why it says 0. But overall, the store was not really profitable at all. And this was not the case for just the first month when the ad account were actually started, which is in July. It was the same situation in August as well. If we go on over to August 1st to August 31, we can see exactly what was going on right over here. And this is mainly because, again, a lot of tests were being done. Of course, in August, as the campaigns began to optimize a bit further, as it started to get more and more data, it did start to get a little bit of a higher ROAS. But at that point, it was still not a 6.13x ROAS. But the one interesting thing I want to show you guys is actually this right here. So since July 1st to August 31st, there were only a handful of campaigns which were spending any types of money. And as you can see, it was only these two campaigns. These two campaigns are the same exact campaigns I recommend within my YouTube videos and even in my course, Google Ads Mastery. These two campaigns are the general testing campaigns, high bid and the low bid, exactly how I recommend. So this top campaign right here was the high bid campaign. If we go on over to settings, we can see exactly what the actual bidding was. So during that time period, I was running on maximize clicks. The bid right now, because it's still running, is 62 cents Canadian dollars, but during that time it was a bit lower, but it was still running, and with the same strategy I still recommend on my YouTube channel. So the main reason why this strategy was implemented on this ad account was that this ad account was completely brand new, and because it had $0 worth of data, we had no other choice but to start with the general testing campaign route. Of course, nowadays, if this ad account had even a little bit of data, I would directly go into smart shopping, but in that situation it didn't. So we launched this two-step strategy system, which I always recommend for most of the new stores out there at least. But if we go to the settings for this low bid campaign, same situation here. The bid is 13 cents Canadian dollars, which is roughly 10 cents US dollars. So that was the initial general strategy, nothing too crazy going on over there. And those two campaigns were the only campaigns which were actually spending any kind of money. This kind of continued all the way from July into August, and September is when things really took a bit of a turn, because at that time Q4 was basically getting started and things were starting to pick up. As you can see, more and more sales were coming about, and the best thing was the conversion tracking issue was now fully fixed. So these conversion values from September onwards are accurate numbers for this store. But as you can see now, more campaigns actually start to spend their budget. Now, before we talk about transitioning from that beginning phase to now the kind of warming up / scaling phase, I want to make something very clear. The main reason why this e-commerce brand was actually continuously getting results was because they were also doing changes in the back end, trying to improve their email marketing, trying to improve their website layout, and of course, most important of all, consistently adding brand new products. Because in 2022 and onwards, if you want any type of success, you can't just find a good amount of success with the same 10 products you want to sell month over month, year over year, because at some point they're gonna dry out. And if you don't have any new winning products to replace them, doesn't matter if you're dropshipping or not, it's gonna be a bit of a bad situation for you, because at that point sales will start to dry off unless you of course follow my split testing guide, which I made a video on recently, you can check out on my channel. But this transition from August into September was a big transition, because now this is where what I always recommend with the smart shopping campaigns really came into play. And I want to show you the main smart shopping campaign which was actually launched. So it is this one right here. As you can see right from the gate, it had the highest ROAS out of all of these campaigns, besides of course the low bid campaign. The low bid campaign is gonna have mostly the highest ROAS, but it's gonna spend very little money like it was doing right here. But smart shopping campaign got the majority of the sales at a very, very good ROAS. This is what happens when you get enough data so that you have enough to actually transition from standard shopping into smart shopping, which is exactly what we did here. And if we go inside the campaign to the settings section, we can see exactly how the settings were laid out. So very similar to what I always recommend. I even made a video on how to set up a smart shopping. Only difference was right now a target ROAS is set for this smart shopping campaign, but back then no target ROAS was really set. And that is how you want to go whenever you launch a brand new smart shopping campaign for an ad account that is transitioning into smart shopping campaigns. And even now for this ad account, I would actually recommend completely taking this off and just unchecking this, simply because all this does is ends up adding a little bit of a limit to your scale with your brand, which you don't want to do. So I do recommend that you don't really have that checked, but nonetheless, this does have it checked now. But during that time period from September 1st to September 30th, this was when scaling began with the Smart Shopping campaign mostly. But Smart Shopping campaign was not the only thing that we were trying out with the ad account. There was also a single product ad group campaign, specifically that which I recommend for scaling, going on during this time period. And as you can see, it did get a good amount of ROAS, 5.92, but look at the difference between this standalone campaign and this one right here. Of course, the ROAS was high, but in terms of volume, the volume was just not there. It's why this shopping campaign is now fully shut off. Definitely you want to be relying more on Smart Shopping, especially if you want to enter the scaling phase and if you already have enough data to support it. Like I always say, if you don't have data, start the standard shopping route. Once you get data, switch over to Smart Shopping, which is exactly what we did. Now kind of taking a broader view from September 1st all the way to the end of December, we can see how this store did just during that time period alone. And by the way, the Smart Shopping campaign continued to crush it, but during this time period, we launched another Smart Shopping campaign for the ad account. And by the way, I do recommend you follow kind of like an overall strategy for Smart Shopping. So that means you either have one Smart Shopping with all your products if you want to go that route, or you have two Smart Shopping campaigns, one winners campaign, one losers campaign, or different Smart Shopping with different profit margins, different product prices, etc. Have some kind of strategy for them. Don't just blindly just start a random Smart Shopping campaign just because you want to. As you can see, by this time, the first Smart Shopping campaign had already done over 6 figures because it was really smart and the strategy we were using was working. So during this time, we got a 17x ROAS. The single ad group campaign was already pretty much shut off at this time period, but looking at Smart Shopping campaign number 2, which was another strategy we were testing of, again, distributing winners versus losers, we can see the second campaign was not too far behind with a 7.95 ROAS. And this is the beauty of Smart Shopping. Once your account has enough data, things just basically take off. The same was true from December onwards. So let's look at January, when usually it's the lowest month for a lot of individuals. For this ad account, it was a little bit lower than the previous time period, definitely, but still very profitable results. 6x ROAS, 8x ROAS, and so forth. In fact, just alone in the month of January, it did about 35,000 Canadian dollars in sales at a 6x ROAS. So again, very profitable results. And by this time, we were already testing around with also some search campaigns. So to give you an example, this one right here had already started, which is a dynamic search campaign. During this initial time period, it was not too profitable, but there was also another search campaign going on during this time period, which is of course the branded search campaign, which is the one right behind it. Again, not very popular during this time period because this brand was just starting to kind of come up from the bottom. But again, to recap the actual scaling method, it was a combination of SPCs. As you can see, a lot of these are actually SPCs. So the ones I'm choosing right here on my screen were all single product ad group campaigns, but 2 of them out of 3 got very poor returns. So as you can see, this is why I recommend you go more the Smart Shopping route in 2022 and onward, rather than just trying to bid on your own, trying to decide what the ideal bid is. Only one of them really performed well, and that was because this is a high ticket product. So really, Smart Shopping is the way to go, and that's also why Google is introducing things like Performance Max campaigns and so forth. But nonetheless, that was the main overall strategy, relying heavily on Smart Shopping and also some form of SPCs, and increasing bids and budgets every 4 days by around 10 to 20%. Ideally, you want to focus more on budgets rather than anything else, but if it's not spending the entire amount, then you definitely want to focus more on the bids as well and kind of increase it by 5 to 10 cents, especially if you're still using standard shopping. If you're using Smart, just leave it be and just increase the budget. But the campaigns like the search campaign right here, which is a dynamic search campaign, which again I made a video on, you can check out on my channel. I recommend dynamic search campaigns after your ad account has at least 100 conversions, because dynamic search campaigns take the longest amount of time to really become profitable. But let me show you the power of a dynamic search campaign once you kind of have enough conversions and what you started with the right settings. As you can see, the conversion value right now for this dynamic search campaign since January is a 48x. It got $12,786 in total sales, and I only spent roughly $264. But this would not have been possible if the conversions amount was not there. So this is why it is so important for you to have some kind of conversion data before you actually decide to start a dynamic search campaign. But that was pretty much the strategy, is kind of implementing as many campaign types as possible, but heavily relying on what brings about 80% of the results, which is in this case shopping campaigns, that too smart shopping. As of right now though, during this time period, the strategy that we are currently using for this ad account has not fully changed at all. As you can see, the campaigns, especially the smart ones that were started during that time period, continue to run today. The first one that spent the most money is still the smart shopping campaign. The one second on the list is actually a single product campaign. The third campaign and the fourth campaign are more smart shopping. So now it's all about just introducing more and more smart shoppings for this ad account, because they continue to work, they continue to provide results for this account. But now in 2022 and onwards, it's finally time to take this brand into more of the Performance Max campaigns route, because as you know, Performance Max is going to be the main thing that Google really allows, even more than smart shopping, in a couple of months. So we need to kind of get accustomed to it. So this brand is definitely the one brand that will be needing to implement a lot more Performance Max from now on. And one thing you want to understand about Performance Max is it definitely takes a bit of time to become really profitable, and for Google to start understanding who the ideal audience is, who the right people are, etc. But once Performance Max, just like smart shopping, becomes smart, it has enough data, it's going to start providing similar results. However, from what I've seen so far, Performance Max does take a much longer time to become fully profitable compared to a smart shopping. But unfortunately, again, because Google is becoming more and more reliant on these smart campaign routes, and it wants us to rely more on these smart campaign routes, we have no choice but to kind of adapt to these changes, and this brand will be adapting to Performance Max very shortly. But in addition to Performance Max, the next scaling phase for this brand, which needs to be implemented right away, is more of the discovery campaigns, display campaigns, YouTube ads, etc. And that is simply because now once this brand has enough data, and by the way, you should be doing this as well, once your brand has enough data, once it has gotten enough sales, it's time to spread awareness about your brand. This could be done with a display campaign, this could be done with a discovery campaign. Both of these campaign types I have videos on my channel if you don't know how to create them. But these are perfect ways to kind of increase the number of eyeballs. This is not necessarily done to increase sales. They might get you some sales, but that's not their main functions. The main function is to get more eyeballs. So with your remarketing campaigns that you have set for the account, they can capture these eyeballs back and you can get more sales that way. But that is pretty much the next step for this brand. And that also completes the overall case study for this account. Nothing too crazy we're doing, just implementing the same things over and over that I keep teaching on my YouTube channel. But if these things are a bit too extra for you, you would rather outsource your Google ads, you would rather get help so you can do it the right way the first time, go onto my website at euromarketing.com and book a free call to see how I can do it for you. But if you found any type of value in this video, destroy that like button and destroy that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video.